there's actually a lot to be said for being in the throes of the public comment period, because for us, well, you're busy out there writing comments and reading and understanding it. We just get to sit around and wait for them to come in. So this is the calm before the storm for the waste cleanup program. And if this is the calm, I don't want to see the storm. So what I want to talk about today, first go through, give a brief background on the waste cleanup program. I know some of you are intimately involved in it and understand it very well. Some of you coming more from the water supply area, maybe less familiar with what we do under waste cleanup. So I have a very, very short, this is what we do and how these, and it's important to know, to understand how these standards fit in to the bigger process. So I'll talk about that, what we're doing with the standards, how they developed, not getting into the toxicity values and the risk assessment piece is kind of higher level part, and then talk about how all of this is related to PFAS and the public comments, and go over some of the public comments that we've already heard. So this is the simplest version of the waste cleanup program that I can describe. You start, that's notification to us. There's preliminary assessments, and then you do a more in-depth assessment. You select the remedy, you design the remedy, you implement the remedy, and then you stop. At any point, the system is set up so that at any point along the way, once you have enough information to show that you're done, you can actually kind of somewhat short circuit the route. But this is the overall process. Study it, decide what you're going to do it, and then you're done. So what we have proposed in these draft regulations for PFAS are reportable concentrations and cleanup standards. The reportable concentrations come in at the start of the process. That's how we trigger notification. If people take samples of groundwater or their private wells or soil, say for as part of their due diligence for property transfer, they come to have knowledge that there's been a release. If that release exceeds our reportable concentrations, they have to report. We also have reportable quantities for such spills. So this is the most common way that people actually start into the waste site cleanup program. There are other ways to get in, but this is the most common one. At the end of the process, we have cleanup standards. So these would be the remediation goals, what you would aim for to clean up. That if you meet these standards, it's one piece of the process to determine that you're done. There are other requirements. In addition, a major one being you have to eliminate or control all continuing sources. But we use the standards as really the goal. If you get everything below these standards, then you can say fairly confidently that you're done with the assessment and cleanup process. And the way the statute is written, the law is written, it's all tied to this concept of no significant risk. So the standards, if you meet the standards, is a way of showing that you have met this risk requirement, that the site and contamination from the site poses no significant risk. It's a bit of jargon, but that's what the law says is the final endpoint as far as risk is concerned. And we have three ways of looking at risk. Method 1, Method 2, and Method 3. We're very creative in naming. The Method 1 standards are intended to be a relatively simple, straightforward, relative to these methods, more conservative way of looking at the risk and looking at the cleanup requirements. So this is the very simple Form 1040, I think was originally when we did this. It's the easy form, the short form, the easy way of looking at the risk. You just compare what you have to the acceptable levels, and if you're lower than the acceptable level, you can say you're done. Method 2, which I've grayed out here because for our purposes it probably doesn't come into play that much, but it gives people the ability, the LSPs, the licensed site professionals who will be overseeing the cleanup work, the ability to kind of tweak some of those numbers based on site-specific factors. It gives a little bit of flexibility while still retaining kind of the ease and simplicity and economy and certainty of using clear published standards. Method 3 uses site-specific risk assessment. We have risk requirements, excess lifetime cancer risk of 1 in 100,000 and hazard quotient of 1. They just like risk levels. Those are actually the risk standards, and you can do a site-specific risk assessment at any 21E site to show that you have completed the process, that your site poses no significant risk. And 1 in 100,000 or hazard quotient of 1 is the definition of no significant risk. Overall, about 85% of the sites that we have close out using method 1. Maybe 1 or 2% use method 2, and the rest, which would be 13, 14%. It's hard doing math on your feet. Close out using method 3. Couple things. Method 1 and method 2 are never required. People always have the option of doing a site-specific risk assessment. As a result, any standards under method 1 can't be viewed as required target levels. People always have the option of doing a site-specific risk assessment. So what we're publishing, what we're seeking comment on for the PFAS things are method 1 standards that people have the option of using. They also have the option of doing a site-specific risk assessment to determine this no significant risk. There's a little twist to this, that under method 3, even when you're doing a site-specific risk assessment, if there are promulgated standards that are applicable, suitably analogous, which is our term for what the federal government in the Superfund program calls ARARs, and we give 2 points if anybody knows what ARARs stands for. Applicant relevant. Oh, no. It's been a long time since Doug has been in a wayside cleanup program. Applicant relevant and appropriate requirements. It basically says that even if you're doing a site-specific risk assessment, if there are promulgated standards out there, the 21E program does not give you carte blanche to ignore those standards or not meet those standards. Those are rules, those are regulations. You still have to meet it. So anybody doing a method 3 risk assessment still has to look at any applicable standards that you might apply in these situations. And we were talking about drinking water, water being used or protected for drinking water use. The MCLs are considered applicable suitability standards. So the package together, what we're doing here in 21E and what we're talking about for this meeting and going to the future for the drinking water program, the way it affects our program in wayside cleanup is that regardless of which method you would use, in the end, once we have an MCL, that will always be the target level, regardless of how much flexibility, regardless of which method you use. So how do we develop these standards? And we're going to focus on the drinking water related criteria. Keep in mind, if you do look at our regs, there's we have proposed standards for a whole bunch of different chemicals, not just PFAS. There are soil and different categories of groundwater that we're not going to talk about here, but it's in there as well, and a whole bunch of other things. So you're more than welcome to comment on all of it. But here, we're focusing on what we call GW1, category GW1 groundwater, which is groundwater that's currently used as drinking water or is being protected for its foreseeable future use as drinking water. More on that in a second. We also have standards for soil, for direct contact, kids that incidentally eat soil, construction workers that have soil on their skin, may incidentally ingest some. But also the soil standards have to be protective for leaching to groundwater. So those are kind of two factors we take into account, the direct risk and the indirect by the transfer from soil to groundwater. So that also has an effect here. So, and as I said before, we consider the drinking water program standards and guidelines as we go through this process. We do try to coordinate and have a consistent approach across the programs. Whether something is current or reasonably foreseeable use, these definitions are reasonably foreseeable, might be used in the future as drinking water. We look at a bunch of things. It's easier to determine if somebody is already using the water as drinking water. Those are kind of clear. If there's a public drinking water well, for instance, there's a zone 2, a zone of contribution around those. Any groundwater which is within that zone 2 is considered GW1. All Class A surface water bodies, which are reservoirs that are used for drinking water. Inter-multi-protection areas, which are the older version, simpler, there may still be some. And also for private wells, any area, any groundwater that's within 500 feet of a private well is also considered GW1. So it's not just the public water we're concerned about, it's the water being used for private drinking. The potential drinking water source areas is far more interesting because it's trying to figure out what groundwater that is not currently being used as drinking water really needs to be protected for that purpose. The groundwater under this building is highly unlikely to be used for drinking water, and it is not GW1. You may be surprised. Where we do look for this, the first one is my favorite, which is that if you're a homeowner and you build a house and you are far away from a public water distribution line so that it's expensive to hook into public water, where are you going to look for your drinking water? Underneath. So the first criteria, one of the criteria, is that if you're more than 500 feet from a water supply distribution pipeline, that by definition is GW1. So that encompasses a large part of the state. Also, if a municipality enacts bylaws to protect groundwater for future use as drinking water, we recognize that. And we categorize that as GW1 as well. With caveat that it's always important to point out that you need to check with the town for that. We don't necessarily have the current list of who has what bylaw and what is being protected. And we also look for public water. Public water supplies, you generally have to pump a lot of water. So we're looking at potentially productive aquifers, those that have sufficient yield. You could pump out enough water to supply the town, or at least part of the municipal water supply. And there are exceptions, and there are complications, but that gives you a general gist of what the GW1 category applies to. So we've been using this general framework for developing our standards since 1993. This is all online. There's a link there that you can look in and look at the document that includes all of this, not only for the GW1, but for the soil standards and the other groundwater categories. The interesting thing about GW1 is that we have rule number 1, which is if there is an existing MCL, Massachusetts MCL, or drinking water guideline, we will just adopt it as an MCP GW1 standard. Again, internal consistency. If it's being protected as drinking water, it doesn't matter if it's in the drinking water program or our program, we want to use the same numbers. In the absence of that, or kind of in this weird situation that we're in now, where there is a drinking water guideline, as you probably know about, we're in the process of reevaluating that across the programs. It's generally following the process below, which is looking at the potential cancer risks associated with exposure to these compounds, looking at the non-cancer and the cancer risk-based calculations to identify numbers that would be protective for both types of health effects. We take into account other factors like solubility, quantitation limits, and background levels. And to talk a little bit more about that, solubility, if you run through these calculations, there are a few chemicals for which you go through the calculations and you find out that the number you calculated is higher than what you can actually get dissolved in water, which doesn't make much sense. So we lower the number to reflect the lower solubility. Quantitation limits we need to have in order for numbers to be usable and enforceable, you have to be able to measure it. So there are cases, and certainly with PFAS, this is something that we continually talk about. 1,4-dioxane is also a chemical. There are chemicals that have tricks to, or difficulties, or issues, concerns. I'm not sure what the right word to use is. We want to be aware, and we want to make sure that what we're proposing in the standard is in fact measurable. And for some chemicals, background plays an important part. That ways that cleanup program regulates releases to the environment. There are naturally occurring materials out there, particularly metals, where there are naturally occurring background levels that may come into play. So we take all of that into account, and there are equations that go into it. And not only is the documentation available to look at, but the Excel spreadsheets that go through those calculations and all the exposure factors, all of that is available online as well. So, you know all of this now. You can hear what are we doing? The reportable concentration for the RCGW1, it's called, for the groundwater we're concerned about. For drinking water, we're proposing is 20 parts per trillion for the sum of 6 PFAS compounds. It's the same value as the proposed groundwater 1 standard that would be used at the back end. So you come in, you go out using the same number. You actually apply them slightly differently, but numerical values are the same. And for the method 1 soil standards, so we refer to these S1 soil, think of as being residential, it's unrestricted use, kids could play in the soil. S1 soil / GW1, S1 GW1, it's S1 soil that's above a GW1 aquifer. S2 above the GW1 aquifer, S3 above the GW1 aquifer. Those are the 3 different soil categories. If it's above the GW1 aquifer, we want to make sure that the potential for leaching to that underlying groundwater is taken into account. And the number that we propose is 0.002 milligrams per kilogram, 200 nanograms per kilogram, and again, summing the same 6 PFAS compounds. This, which you probably can't read, don't worry about it. It's online. When we put out regulations and waste cleanup programs, partly because it's a very complicated set of regulations, and people coming to any individual section, they look at it and say, why aren't they proposing that? We often have notes to reviewers that we insert in the proposed regulations to guide the reviewers in giving some background on why we're proposing this number, and in some cases asking specific questions that we're interested in. This is a gross summary of a page-long note to reviewers that's in our regs for the PFAS standards. And I would encourage you to don't rely upon this. I know it would be difficult to read anyway, which I'm not worried about it because I don't want you to base your comments on this. I want you to go to the actual regs, look at the page-long note to reviewers. But it's asking questions like, as basic as, do we have the right PFAS compounds for summing? Should we look at individual standards? Should we look at different combinations? Should we look at different ways should we look at a combination of having individual standards plus some summation? Should we give more weight to what the EPA is doing? Are there other toxicity studies that have come out recently? There's something specifically about a relative source contribution factor, which basically is asking, we're exposed to PFAS in other ways, not just drinking water. How can or should we take that into account in setting these standards? And the bottom one, which we talked a little about before, is can it be quantified? So there are a bunch of questions like this that we specifically are very interested in your comments, your thoughts. The public comments are due by close of business July 19th. Liz was here. Liz is there. Liz is in the back. Wave your hand, Liz. There. They go to Liz Callahan at this address. I probably need to point out that this would be by mail. It is not postmarked by this date, but have it to us by that day. We take by email as well. So you have about a month to look at it if you haven't already. And the more important thing for you guys is that we have been and will continue to share any comments that we receive on PFAS through the MCP process with the Drinking Water Program and with the Office of Research and Standards for their work in looking at the potential MCL and revisions to the ORS guidelines and all of the work that goes into all of it. So that, again, we want to have one consistent way of looking at PFAS across the programs when all of this work is done sometime, whatever it is. Our regs, this portion hopefully will be done probably the fall of 2019. There are other things in addition to PFAS in it that also have to be finalized. So there's a lot of work still to be done, which is why we're enjoying the column. So I've included a kind of laundry list, and this is not intended to be complete. I've tried to make it representative, roughly, of the type of questions that we've been getting. And I don't want to go through each and every one of these, but you can look at it at your leisure. We'll be putting it up online, slides. But the types of comments that we've been getting have been, oh, PRO's limit is appropriate for cleanup. Or there's no safe limit for PFAS, and this is inappropriate. People concerned about PFAS and hotspots or clusters of different potential health outcomes, including this particular comment, MS. Somebody noted that the EPA uses a 300-fold safety factor in developing their RFD. So that really, given that context, is there really a difference between our 20 proposed and EPA's current 70? Is an extra safety factor really necessary? People have said, oh, you're looking at 6. We'd really like at least 14, and if you could do it, the whole class. One person said, well, PFAS, as you said, doesn't really interact a lot with things. It's a very stable compound, so does it really have an effect on people's health? Doesn't it just like attach to your blood and stay there innocuously? So maybe a higher standard might be appropriate. People concerned about recharge, ponds that recharge groundwater and flow in and out of ponds and back into the groundwater, and what that might say about the proposed GW3 standard, which is actually kind of a discharge surface water body issue. Potential ecological effects. People have asked for support for money made available to towns to deal with PFAS, and these are the type of things that we pass on. It's a comment that isn't directly relevant to waste site cleanup regulations, but it's something that we are making available, making everybody else aware of, that when we get it. Single source aquifer should have higher protections. Source partitioning, contaminated soil, people have concerns. Somebody pointed out there was a recent Vermont background study, and we should look at that. Concerns about exposure to birds, surface water, potential PFAS in vegetables and fruit. I like the comment, wherever there is water, there is PFAS. So you don't get extra credit for pithy comments and well-worded comments, but they would be appreciated. And a helpful hint before we get to Mark to talk about in more detail about some of these. When submitting comments, certainly to the waste site cleanup program, I think I can generalize overall. It's very helpful to have more specific comments. They helpful to us. A comment to the effect of, this number is not protective enough, or this number is overly protective, is a sentiment, it's a belief, but it doesn't give us a lot of information in order to adjust the numbers. What is very helpful is reference to studies, and in some cases, maybe not numbers like this, but elsewhere in the MCP, if there are different ways of phrasing the language that we've proposed, it's always helpful to give it to us, because we will be more likely to understand what your point is and be able to evaluate it and incorporate it if we agree with it. The further you step back and just kind of express broader feelings about the way it should work, it becomes harder to us both to understand what you're really trying to get at, but also then we have to come up with the language ourselves, and there's potential for not getting it right. So the more detailed, the better, and we really appreciate that kind of thoughtful comment. And with that, if you have any questions. Yes?
So in reverse, the MCL informs the RC. Because that's not what's happening here, can you speak to the likeliness of whatever number you end up coming up with for the RC, that just becoming the MCL number?
So the question was, this is like the process I described doesn't quite fit exactly what's going on here. It's unusual for all of this to be going on concurrently. Usually it's just us changing our regs or drinking water changing their regs. And then the other place catch up, or we play catch up to them, is more likely. The question is what's the likelihood if we go out with the RC as 20, or the cleanup standard, our number is 20, how likely is it that that will become almost by default the MCL? And what we have committed to is, we have to, I think, the way I think of it is that we have to start somewhere. And wayside cleanup was ready to go with this, with our rate package, and we've done a lot of legwork on some of these, and a lot of other things. And we have to start somewhere and start getting comment. We have committed, our program has committed to first, taking that first step, providing the information that we get. We view this as a valuable information gathering process. And whatever number we end up with in the fall of 2019, we will still be participating with the drinking water program and the MCL development process, and any information that kind of feeds into that as well. But we have committed to kind of follow along with the drinking water program, and should the department, and it's not just one program or the other, I was going to say against the other. It's not their program and our program, it's the department looking at this and trying to figure out what the right number is. And if in December the department decides that 1127,000 something is the appropriate number, then the wayside cleanup program will follow along with the drinking water program and adjust our numbers. So we're not looking at it as we're setting this in stone and follow along with us drinking water. We will continue to participate in the process, and in the end, even if we have to go out for public comment and change our regulations, we're willing and ready to do that, and we'll piggyback on that process as well.
We'll just ask when people speak, could you introduce yourself?
Okay, Alyssa Raymond Reed. Oh,
And since you're right up front.
hi, Alyssa Raymond Reed from Conservation Law Foundation. Just asking you to summarize that, what you just said. So there will be.
Did you try summarizing?
Well, it sounds like you're saying we're going to come up with a number now because it's a place to start, but there will be another bite at the apple if we have new information.
Yes.
Okay.
I wouldn't say another bite at the apple, I would put it differently, but we were, this kind of, the information is coming in fast and furious. And at different points in time, we're gonna say, okay, what do we know now? And what should the number be? But that doesn't mean that a few months later, there's something that makes us that something else should be done.
More information.
And we're doing it.
Yeah.
And if the MCL is different, and if the MCL ends up being different from the wayside cleanup standard, the wayside cleanup standard will be adjusted to be the same as the MCL.
Okay.
Hi, Steve Olson. How many wayside cleanup standards do you have that don't reflect an MCL right now?
If Nancy were here, she could tell me. Right now we have, I think, about 112, 114 generic MCP method 1 standards. The drinking water program has
on the order of 80 MCLs?
80 MCLs. So there are a number for which we go through this calculation process and set the MCP standards.
Jen Peterson, Mass Water Works. Question about the analytical capabilities in soil. Is there approved methods? How are you looking at that? And then you had mentioned background, so how are you factoring background issues into that?
So first, the methods for soil there are no, well, let's start with there are no certified methods for soil. Here, our lab certifies methods for drinking water. What we would look at would be standard methods that EPA puts out, adopts, or other places, other reputable regulatory agencies, but mostly EPA. And EPA has been in development, has been developing methods, a variety of methods for looking at PFAS, both in soil and other media would fall in line with that. That's part of why we're asking the questions about analytical capability here. And we have gotten some comments already about what can be done and what's available. So it's a fluid situation, and we're waiting to see kind of what comments we get. And we're also working with labs. Maybe obviously, but I'll say that, just to be clear. We didn't just come up with a number, we did talk with a number of labs about the number that was proposed. But there is certainly opportunity for people, laboratories, other regulatory agencies, the world to comment on whether that is routinely able to get down to that level and what the analytical capabilities are and where we should go with it. As for background, the way that we typically look at background, so I'll step away from PFAS for a second, and let's pick a background, a nice innocuous background chemical. There is none, right? Well, even let's pick a less innocuous one, arsenic. Massachusetts, arsenic is metal. It's a common element in the environment. It's there. It's naturally occurring. It's not released to the environment. We don't have regulatory authority, legal authority to require cleanup beyond background. It's not released to the environment. So we have to take that into account. So we try to identify what are these naturally occurring levels that are out there. And we will adjust the method 1 standard. If the calculated value falls below the naturally occurring one, then we will adjust the level up to the naturally occurring level to show that this is where remediation can stop. If you achieve naturally occurring background, for instance, you're done in our eyes. There's also concepts like historic fill and anthropogenic background. There are features, aspects of our law and regulations that recognize that there are some things that have been generally used and released to the environment, if you want to use that word, over the last 400 years. 400 years here. Particularly burning wood creates ash, which is rich in PAHs, polynuclear aromatic hydrocarbons, and at some point, our program is not cleaning up those 400 years of history of heating our homes with wood. So we try to reflect that as well. So there are nuances like that go into it. We were asking the question for PFAS because it's incumbent on us to ask and see if there's any data out there. I would not venture to say at this point whether we would incorporate some explicit background or whether we should, but it's something we need to care for people. Thank you. Mark Smith from our Office of Research and Standards.